Good afternoon or good morning. Today is Gentian Day, an Apéro hour, and I've talked about it before. And we're going to do a little Gentian drink today. That's a low ABV, which means low alcohol drink. You could even turn it, I'm going to give you an option, if you live in France, to turn it into a mocktail. But welcome. I'm glad you all enjoyed Romain's visit yesterday. Well, we were together, so it wasn't really a visit, but he visited this and he made his great jambon beurre sandwich, which was a lot of fun. And we actually wolfed it down as soon as we were done. Everyone in France is like, just, people with gusto, we just want to eat. So one thing that was funny yesterday when he was getting ready and I was getting everything out for him, he said, I brought out a knife, a knife like this, just for smearing butter. He goes, no, it can't have teeth. It needs to be smooth. So that's one of the joys of living with a French person is that, especially Romain, I should say, that he has very specific, he's very exigeant, as you say in French, very discerning. And once I said, it's discriminating. And he goes, oh no, it's not discrimination. I said, okay, well, it's a quirk of the English language then, but it's very discerning. So there is a difference between knives with teeth and knives without. So if you want to make the sandwich like Romain, use this one. All right, got that? Okay. A couple of you chimed in with questions which were adorable. One of them was, what do I think about Trader Joe's French butter? And they have a butter, I think it says Brittany on the package or Normandy. That's actually, from what I hear, it's not confirmed, but it is said that that's President butter, which is made by a very large French dairy company. I don't know what the equivalent in the US would be to a very large dairy company, but that's that butter, and it's okay. It's got crystals of salt in it. When I'm in the US, I tend to buy Kerrygold butter. I like it a lot. I think it's quite good and the price is reasonable. Well, maybe not anymore. I do like Bergdicini, which I used yesterday, quite a bit too. You can get that in the US. That's not so easy to find in my neighborhood supermarkets. I was lucky to find that at the shopping service that I use. So I should have bought more and stocked up, put it in my freezer, but my freezer is pretty full. And somebody had left a comment when I made gougere, and they go, I always keep a lot of them in my freezer, and I'm like, I am jealous of anybody that has room for all that stuff in their freezer, because I salute you. So welcome. I should scroll down and say hello to anybody. Good morning from Santa Fe. Hi. I know that's the other side of the US. Yes, happy Saturday. I know that, because I was thinking, Romain said Saturday, there's going to be a lot of parties tonight because there was several parties this week in my neighborhood, and people are having more and more parties because they're getting ready for the alleged deconfinement on May 11th. So he said there's going to be a lot of parties tonight. So I have my earplugs handy and I have my app which has nature sounds. So I'm probably going to be using those tonight so I can go to sleep. Yes, that's what love Kerrygold. Actually went to Ireland and went to the Kerry where they make Kerrygold. It's very good butter. I think someone told me it's the second or third largest selling butter now in the US, which is pretty amazing. So another question, somebody asked me, where do you get that really good jambon in Paris? Yesterday I talked about boiled ham in French is called jambon de Paris or Paris ham. And none of it's made in Paris except for one brand. It's called Prince de Paris or Prince de Paris, which is very special. It actually tastes much better. I'm not sure why. I think there's a regular and there's a smoked, but it's really good. And you can get it at places like Terroir d'Avenir, the Grande Épicerie de Bon Marché. Most goods, it's hard to say exactly where. I know Terroir d'Avenir has it. So when I go there, I usually get a few slices. It's very good. I like it a lot, and it's the last one made in Paris. So good to keep them in business. The other thing is somebody asked me what's in short supply in France. We're pretty fortunate. Most things are in good supply, and I just found out there's an initiative by the city of Paris because we can't go to the markets anymore to have You'll be able to order stuff on the internet from your local market and have it brought to you. Doesn't work on my computer. I'm getting a thing that says website still up and running. I always thought it would have been great if they kept the markets open and all the market people just had bags or boxes, like the fromage, the people who sell cheese just had like a box with 3 different cheeses or 5 different cheeses, and you kind of had to buy what they had, or charcuterie, or produce bag, sort of like a CSA as people call them in the US. I always thought that would have been a good idea. In romance, well, that will never work because people aren't used to doing that. And I was like, well, maybe they could just change for this, keep the markets open. So that's something that's very interesting. But one thing you can't find here, no, it's not flour. No, it's not yeast, which are 2 things that are sort of in short supply. It's paper. I went to the supermarket and the whole paper shelf was empty. We live in a very paper-heavy country. Just right next to me, there's big piles of paper all around my apartment. There's paper in my office. There's stacks of paper. Sometimes I'm surrounded by paper. A lot of paperwork. We don't have paper because everybody's printing all their stuff out and saving it and classifying it. We call organizing it in folders. They say classeur. I always say if you want to make a lot of money, make classeur in France because everybody has lots of folders and files. And during the presidential campaign, when Mitt Romney said there's binders of women, everybody laughed at him. And then I remembered, well, he did his, whatever Mormons do, he did his mission thing in France, so he probably does have binders of women. So everyone was laughing. I was like, no, take it seriously. So I've been cutting up all my little scraps of paper to use for notepads and shopping lists. I found this today in one of my drawers. It's one of those, like, they call them steno pads in the US. I was so excited. So it's paper, fresh paper. And I told Roman he wasn't allowed to use it. So he doesn't quite understand that because he's just going through a lot of papers, not used to saving it and being economical with it. So even the little scraps of paper that, like, I have the little questions that people ask me, I'm reusing old pieces of paper, using things a second time. I'm super economical. So... And hello in Vancouver. That's such a great city. I went there on my last book tour, and I had the most amazing food ever. The Asian food was incredible. There was a place next to my hotel where I was staying, and I had these little cherry tomatoes that were kimchied, which is not really a verb, but they were peeled, and they were in this glass, and they were ice cold, and they were so good. I want to come back to Vancouver. Today's drink is going to be the Gentian Fizz. And just so you know, I just posted the recipe on my blog today, so you can go there and get it. I also posted the Bronx recipe as well, so you can get the cocktail I made the other night, which was the night that I was going to make this, but the pineapple juice didn't arrive, and I was panicking, and I made gougère. And so those recipes are all on the blog now, so you can get them there. You don't have to, I was going to say, you don't have to pay attention, but yes, pay attention, because that's why I'm here. All right. And I learned something interesting, that you can press this little button at the bottom where the question mark, and it will, it brings the question up. That bird does taste like president. That's what someone said. So I don't know if that's true. That's what someone from another butter company told me, that the French, that butter from Trader Joe's is perhaps from President. Not confirmed. Hello in the Bay Area. So today I'm going to do a gentian drink. I think I talked about gentian a little bit before, but when I wrote Drinking French, I made sure to have a whole chapter on all these, like, goofy, I shouldn't say goofy because I love them, French aperitifs. People come to France and are like, what is Bonal? What is Suze? What is beer? What is Picon? So I wanted to explain them and give recipes for using them, because this is one of my favorite photos in the book. All my glassware. So that's all in the book. Gentian is an herb, or actually a root, rather. It grows under the ground, of course. That's where roots grow. And when it flowers, it has either a yellow or blue flower. But they can grow 10 feet long, 30 feet long, 40 feet long. And they usually don't harvest them till they're at least 10 years old, and some get to be as old as 40 years old before they get harvested. And they use these giant metal pitchforks, and the people have a special name. They're called Gentionneurs, the people, because it's France, there's a word for everything, which is what's so beautiful about the language. They go in and they pry these things with these giant metal, wrought iron, I guess, iron forks. They call them devil's forks. And they pull up these gnarly roots, and they use those to make the, different aperitifs and liqueurs. And some of them include, this is probably the most well-known, Suze, which you can buy in the US. My friend Elise Bauer just bought one in Sacramento, a bottle, and she said it was $31. I said, whoa! Because here it's about 11, and usually it's like 20 in the US. So you should be able to get a bottle of Suze for about 20 US dollars. And somebody once told me it was the worst thing they ever put in their mouth. I was on a radio show, and it's very bitter, but it's also got some sweetness in it, and it makes a really good drink. Drinking it on its own, most French people usually put ice cubes in it. It's kind of considered an old-fashioned drink. People say, oh, my grandmother has a bottle in her cabinet. And so there's an expression in the antiques business, the only person interested in what your grandmother had was your grandfather. So, but when I was working the book, I mentioned Suze. A lot of French people were like, oh, my grandmother has a bottle in her cabinet. I think because it's very economical, you just need a little bit of it. You don't have to use a lot, and you put ice in it, and it's very refreshing, especially in the summer when you're playing boule. I don't drink pastis. I don't love it. This is another one called Salers. Allegedly, this is the first gentian liquor, and this doesn't have any coloring in it. It's natural. It comes in 3 different strengths. This is an artisanally made Mère Gentian. They don't have a website, but you can only get this in France. And it's very, very good. It's stronger in alcohol. It's 32%. I was so excited to open the bottle that I ripped the paper off. And I mentioned the word mocktail. People in France love gentian so much, even people that don't drink need gentian. So here's a non-alcoholic gentian aperitif. And a couple companies make them. I did link to them on my blog. One of them had the most unnavigatable website I've ever seen in my life. So I had to put a little disclaimer. I wanted to link to them. I said, good luck using the website. But this is a non-alcoholic one. So if you live in France or maybe in Europe, you can get them. But I don't think you can get them in America. But you can get Suze and you can get Salers in the US. So this drink is going to be made in a glass. We're not going to use a shaker. We're not going to use a cocktail mixing glass either. I like reading the comments. Do I get to stop and look at them once in a while? It's nice to hear from people. Hi, Belgium. In Belgium, Toronto, Austin, Texas, Brazil, Pasadena, Berkeley, San Francisco, Maryland, LA. Oh, somebody, Catchleek had a cocktail from the book last night. So did we. Bernal Heights. Waiting. Yes, I remember Bernal Heights. Many years, nobody wanted to live there, and then everybody decided it was a really great neighborhood, so everyone moved there. In San Francisco, it got more expensive, more expensive, more expensive. So I'm going to bring my little table out because my tripod is still somewhere between wherever I ordered it from and here. So you get my little Eames table. All right. A couple people weren't so thrilled that I had a fake cigarette yesterday. They go, you shouldn't smoke. I was like, I don't smoke, and I don't like smoking. I'm going to use this kind of glass, or you could use this kind of glass, anything. This recipe is very, you don't have to follow exact the quantities I use. You can just use the proportions. So I'm going to go ahead and mix it in the glass. I am going to add, remember there's no brand shaming during lockdown. So this is just supermarket pineapple juice. I know a lot of people say you should use freshly squeezed pineapple juice. Those kind of things are not as easy to find right now, so I'm using just regular pineapple juice. Somebody asked me if you could use grapefruit juice for this, and I said, sure, I would try that. I wouldn't use orange juice. I think it might be too sweet. You could use orange and lime juice, but grapefruit juice would be really good. So in the glass, I've got 1 ounce of gentian liqueur, Fizz I'm using. And you can see it's got this yellowish color. All right, and I'm gonna use this. I really like this. It's milder than the other ones, but it's very herbaceous and botanical. And I wish they had a website. But they don't. They have a Facebook page. It's called Distillerie de Grammont. So there. All right, so those two things go in the glass. When I was writing Drinking French, I sort of decided I wanted to collect some of these stirrers, and I didn't know what they were called in French. That's always a challenge. When I was remodeling my apartment, I was like, what do you call those kick plates on doors? They're like, you know, the hardware store, they're like, you know, and what's that, you know, what do you, there, in French also, there's like 7 different words for sink. There's an évier, which is for the kitchen. There's a lave-main, hand washing sink. There's a bassin, which is for the laundry room. There's several different, there's a lot of different words. And you can't put a lave-main, a bathroom sink in the kitchen. So everything is very sectionalized. So I was trying to figure out what the word for these was, and I was going to look for some old ones online. I know a lot of people don't like to use plastic anymore, but these are vintage. These, this one has like a little logo from a lemonade company. This one probably you couldn't get away with using any, well, you probably could for a while. It's got a woman on it, and she obviously does a lot of Pilates because she's very thin. So that's all I'm going to say about her. The next thing I'm going to add is crushed ice. And you can make your own crushed ice at home. I don't have an ice crusher. I'm fortunate to have an ice machine. So I'm going to use one of my handy reusable zip top bags. And I put ice in it. I'm going to take my rolling pin and smack it on the counter. So I'm going to do it over there because I have a stainless steel counter. If I do it here, it'll be very loud. I'll be right back. Oh, the bag broke. Wow. The zip top bags here aren't so good. We don't get those super heavy duty ones. So that just broke all over the counter, but it's okay. It's live TV, it's live video, so it's all right. All right, so I'm gonna add some Indian tonic, which is what we call other places tonic water. And it got its name because the British, when they colonized India, used to add it to their gin and tonic, so Indian tonic. So I put 1 ounce of Fizz in the glass, 1 ounce gentian liquor. Actually, I didn't use Fizz, I used gentian liquor. 1 ounce gentian liquor and 1 ounce of pineapple juice. So I'm gonna add 2 ounces of tonic water. And then give that a stir. And then I'm gonna fill the glass with ice, crushed ice. And sometimes you can put bigger cubes in the bottom. They don't melt so fast. So I'm just gonna put a few bigger cubes in there. And then top it up with the finer ones. Is this okay? Where's Roman? All right. This is why I'll never be a pro bartender. Then add a straw. You can use one of these. I have a bamboo straw. And stick it in there. You could give it another stir. If you want to get fancy, you could add a little bit of chartreuse poured over the top. You could add a little bit of absinthe over the top. Add a little bit of green. It's kind of pretty and tasty too. I wouldn't add too much. I would add like a teaspoon because it'll be very strong. Or you could even add something like mint syrup, this green mint syrup, just a little bit if you want to make it colorful. But I'm not going to do that because I kind of want to keep it pure. And then we're going to add a mint. One of the great things about living in France is that herbs are super cheap. I bought 2 huge bunches of mint and they were 83 cents each. It was kind of like, how can they do that? It was and they were beautiful. They're fresh and wonderful. And I love mint and everything. So I'm going to take 2 nice sprigs. A little bartender trick is, before you use fresh herbs like this, if you smack it, it releases the fragrance, and I can smell that. So there we go. That's a Gentian Fizz. And it looks fancy, but it's very easy to make. It only has 3 ingredients. And I'm going to take a sip. The great thing about gentian, it's hard. You can't hide bitter. It's one thing you learn when you cook. There's 2 flavors that can't be hidden. One is burnt, and I know that from experience when I burnt a potato soup. And one of the other cooks, I was cooking in New York at the time, and she said, "We'll just call it roasted tomato soup." I said, "Well, it's burnt." She goes, "No, we need the soup." So everybody returned their soup because it was burnt. And bitter. So, but bitter is actually very good complemented with sweet. And I was joking, I often joke with my friend Brad Parsons, who might be watching along. He wrote a book called Bitters. I said, we need to write a book on bitters and sweet, bittersweet. Yum. That's really good. I love Suze. I love gentian liqueurs. This isn't Suze. I keep calling it Suze. They've done a very good job brand. It's like Band-Aids. You just say Band-Aids even if it's not a Band-Aid. So have you guys had gentian liquor? I know that my friend Matt, if you tuned in, he's a distiller in Burgundy. He was the one responsible for bringing gentian liqueur, Suze, to the US and making it very popular. He went around to a lot of bars and got bartenders to use it. And in my book, there's a great drink. Someone just posted it online called the Yellow Cocktail. And it's wonderful. It's one of my favorite drinks in the book. It's from a bar in Paris called Cravan, or Cravan, C-R-A-V-A-N. It's listed in the book. It's a yellow cocktail with Suze and gin and lemon juice. And it's really, really good. If you like white Negronis, you need gentian liquor. It comes through with other ingredients. It works well with others. So I do think, I did a post about a week ago on what you should buy to have a French bar, and I listed sort of the 4 or 5 basics, and then I gave sort of several wild card things, and one of them was gentian liquor, if you wanted to sort of expand your horizons a little more. And of course people said, "Oh, you didn't say pastis and you didn't say absinthe." I was like, "Well, I didn't. Benedictine." It's like, I didn't list everything you should have. It was just some things. So it's good to have Suze, I think, because you can make Suze and tonic, which was, I think, might have been the first video I did here on Instagram Live. And which is interesting because yesterday's video with Roman got the most viewers of any of the Instagram Lives we've done. So he's going to be back next week, and I will be too. Next week is going to be quite interesting. I've got 2 interesting guests. One of them is going to be Ivy Mix, who's a bartender and bar owner from Brooklyn, and she's going to be here to help celebrate Cinco de Mayo and explain to us why this video, this format, is this a TV show or a video? Okay. This format, she's going to explain to us why a margarita has French connections. And I've got another very good friend, Thomas Deck of Deck and Donahue Brewery here in France, and he's a wonderful Frenchman who has sort of reinvented the game around French beer, what it is. It used to be a lot of big companies like Kronenberg and so forth. And he's changed the game, and he's a wonderful guy, super friendly. They used to have, the brewery used to be right outside of Paris, and you could take the metro there and go on Saturday. And right before my book went to press, I wrote about him in the book. I saw that they were moving the brewery somewhere else, and the whole story was about going to the brewery and getting there from Paris. And I had to scramble to recast the story. So when he comes on the show, I will tell him not to move anymore. No, he can move. Oh, hi in Sacramento. Yes, my friend Elise got her shoes at Cordy Brothers, which is a great store in Sacramento, food store. You're still waiting for your book to arrive, Ms. Merlolo. Yes, we're all waiting for things to arrive, I'm afraid. Hello in Edinburgh. I was there about a year ago, and I had a lot of scotch and really good oysters. And I had delicious ice cream at that woman. I forgot her name, and I forgot the name of the shop, but that very good ice cream in Scotland. Oh, sorry. Yes, Penny, I'm glad you like the Cosmo. Me too. Justin Charles bought a bottle of that dry curacao, the Pierre Ferrand. It is much better. I don't like telling people to buy premium things necessarily because everybody's got a different budget and so forth. But that does make a difference. It's the same price as like Grand Marnier or curacao. I like it. So maybe you do too. Oh, I'm just seeing this now. There's a way I can see your questions. Is it possible to get signed copies of my book? I don't have my glasses, but not that I know of. I'm gonna be back on tour. Let's see. I'm gonna be back on tour hopefully in the fall, and I'll be able to sign copies of people's books. I'll list a couple bookstores if you or I can't make it to the same place at the same time. It's very hard to go to a lot of places because it's a lot of traveling, a lot of airplanes. So hopefully I will come, and that's a good way to get a signed book. I might do another book signing here with my publisher. It was just very hard to get book plates here for me to sign. So let's see, what are the other? I love this. I just found this out. Is there a significance to your bracelet? It keeps me calm. A friend of mine gave it to me and said every time you look at it, it should calm you down. Can you tell us the difference between salaires and sous? Did I ever find out the word for the stirring sticks in French? No, I didn't. I should have asked Roman, but sometimes I ask him and he doesn't know a lot of that stuff. The difference between sous and salaire. Salaires is milder. It's not as strong. Sous has, I believe, coloring in it, and salaires doesn't. There's actually 3 different salaires, so it's kind of difficult to describe each one, and I haven't had all 3 of them in a while. There's one that's 25% proof that has sort of vanilla overtones in it, and to me it's a little more refined, and that doesn't mean it's better. It just means that it's a different flavor. And Sue's works really well in cocktails because it's not so refined. But it's your choice. So I like them both. I think if I was going to be drinking on its own, I might tend to go for salaires, and if I was mixing it in a cocktail, I would use Sue's. Oh, yes, you can get autographed copies of my book from barnesandnoble.com on their website. Thank you for reminding me. Don't watch TV anymore. More Margot, please. Oh, thank you, TLS. Yes, Lula May. Whoops, it keeps scrolling up. Yes, Barnes & Noble does have signed copies, and she mentioned she got it. I guess it's Lulu. She got it right away. So they do have signed copies of Drinking French. Barnes & Noble, but only on the website. More Margot. I love Margot. I had Margot twice here, and she was great. But I'm trying to have different people on, so you folks can meet different people. But do Margot.combat. She's a really great Instagram stories, and she promised me she'd get me, I don't know if she's watching, but she promised she'd get me some tweezers for cocktails. Is there an American spirit that's hard to get in France that I miss? Rye whiskey. We do get rye, but we don't get a lot of them. So I often bring back interesting rye whiskeys. There's also some artisanal aperitivos. Aperitivo is like a red bitter, like Campari. And there's two. One's made by, and I'll mispronounce the name, but Fort Have Spirits, Forthave, which is a micro distillery in Brooklyn. And then St. George Spirits makes a Bruto Americano, which is very good. It's an alternative to drinks like Campari. They're much more botanical and more nuanced and interesting. And those are mentioned in my book too. So I actually bring back some of those for distillers here because they want to taste those. Let's see. Yes, you can send questions using that button. I just learned about that. And yellow chartreuse. Hope you'll have a series. You're doing great. If I could find my glasses. Oh, here they are. Yeah, I just saw Michael Simon got a series, but he has a nice kitchen in the Hamptons, and mine is just white IKEA cabinets and an old espresso machine and stuff. So I'm not so fancy. So nobody is more lockdown stories. Oh well, I just went to. I decided I was tired of staying home, and I decided to go visit one of the. You say an épicerie in French, but it's like a food market where they sell things like dried nuts or dried fruit, nuts, and so forth. And I said, I think I'll go take a walk. And people were wearing masks, but they kept walking into me, as people like to do on the sidewalks here. You're sort of always playing chicken with people. And I went there and I almost cried because I know the owner. He's a really nice young man. We've kind of bonded, and I hadn't seen him in a while. And I said, "How are you doing?" And he said, "It's very, very difficult." He didn't have a lot of stuff in the store. And I said, "Well, how often are you going to the wholesale market?" He goes, "Oh, 4 times a week. I need to keep going and getting whatever I can." So the person behind me kept standing right behind me, which is a local custom. And I had to finally turn around and say, "Can you please step back?" And I almost felt like adding a cough. I was wearing a mask. I didn't want to do that, of course, but I just didn't understand that. So let's see. The most popular herb for cocktails, I would say it's mint. The purpose of the swizzle stick, it's to stir things, surprisingly. It's to stir. In France, often you get a drink called a citron pressé, which is a glass with just plain lemon juice in it. And they bring you a little bottle of water on the side, just tap water, cold tap water, and just a shaker of salt, and you use one of these sticks. Companies love them because they advertise on them. I think in the old days, they used to throw them away, and you can still find them. You can go to flea markets and you can find vintage ones. You can probably find them online. I don't know the name in French, so I spent a couple of hours trying to figure out what to call them until I could find some, but that's it. You love my kitchen, not fancy. Yeah, I just wanted a plain kitchen. You watch for the kitchen. Yeah, Michael Simon has somebody walking around with a camera, so I'll try to get Roman to work on his camera techniques. Okay, and I think there's 2 more questions. Have I started the binge on The Wire? No, I haven't. I just finished watching Luke Cage, and I don't like violence so much, so but I like the show. I like him, and he's cool. Do I have any recipes with Get 27? I don't, because I think it's something that's impossible to get in America, and there's not really any drinks, creme de menthe you can get. There was a great creme de menthe drink in the book called The Stinger, and it's cognac and creme de menthe, which sounds disgusting, and it's wonderful. So that's a great drink. So I guess I'm going to take another sip of this. I usually have a glass of water, but I think it's better even as it sits. Crushed ice rocks. I never use crushed ice at home, probably because these bags just don't. You can see it just didn't hold. I'm standing in a puddle. I say we give Roman his own show. Okay, everybody write to Food Network right now and tell them Roman needs his own show, and I can stand in the wings and coach him. So All right. Oh, yes, you like Sally likes fingers too. Yes, they're very interesting. It just sounded like a weird drink to me, and when I made it, it was terrific. All right. I will be back on Monday, so I look forward to seeing you then. I just posted 2 recipes on my blog today. I posted this one, the Gentian Fizz, and the Bronx recipe, so you have a couple drinks to make this weekend. It's not like homework or anything, so you don't have to do it. If you do any drinks, feel free to tag me or tag Drinking French with a hashtag. I didn't realize how hashtags were important until my last book tour, and someone said, you should think of a hashtag for your book tour, and I didn't do it, and I don't know if that woman's watching me. She was in Boston at Flower Bakery, which was a wonderful bakery and a great, I loved the people there, and I love meeting everybody there. So thank you for that idea. So I did do Drinking French for this book. So I hope you have a good weekend. If you get out, enjoy some sunshine. Try to get some vitamin D. It's very important. Make sure you stay away from people. If you live somewhere where you go to the beach, be extra careful because everybody's running around on the things I see on the news. And I want everyone to stay healthy and happy. And I want everyone to enjoy themselves. All right. So I will see you on Monday. Have a great weekend and bye-bye. Enjoy your Gentian Fizz. Like I'm enjoying mine. Bye.